Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you are staying safe. We hope you are warm if you're in New York State, enjoying all of the snow, depending on where you are. We're so thankful that you could be here with us today. We have some amazing alumni and a current student that are going to lead us through our panel today and answer some really awesome questions. And hopefully you'll gain some insight into your futures and how you can create your career and create some future opportunities. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for joining us for the Creating Your Future Career panel. We do have some folks with us today that are going to talk to you all about their experiences, how they got to where they are today with their career, how that probably took a little bit of proactiveness and some devotion or dedication on their behalf. I will go ahead and tell you this is our 4th week of week 5 of Imagine 2021. Crazy to think that this is almost over. That means January is almost over, which means I don't know where it went because it flew by, but this is week 4. We have sessions throughout the day this week, as well as at 4 o'clock Monday through Thursday this week. If you need to check out more information about our sessions, my co-host will go ahead and throw the link to our Imagine 2021 website in the chat now. For those of you that are current students or class of 2020 alumni and are interested in gaining one of our wonderful prizes, as you can tell, they're pretty awesome. The Oswego State Blanket has been the most sought after item because it's cold and it's Oswego, but we will post on our Instagram at Higher Oz on Thursday. And all you have to do is tell us what 3 items on the checklist you completed and tag 3 of your friends, and you'll be entered to win one of these prizes. So check out that link in the chat as well, and we'll go ahead and keep on going. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and start off, and we're going to introduce everyone, and then they're going to be able to tell you a little bit more later about their career path and everything. So we have, wow, I always do that. That's every time, guys. I'm so sorry. We have Jenn Lee, who is joining us, a graduate from 2011, and she's a colorist at ECG Productions. We also have Sophia Alaqua. Close. Yeah, she's giving me a thumbs up, guys. That means I didn't butcher it too bad. 2015 alumni, and she's an innovative and design studio ops manager at Converse. We have Kayla Halle, who is a 2022 graduate, right? I fixed that. Okay, current student studying public relations, joining us, and we are missing one panelist tonight. Halle Bristol, who couldn't be here with us today. She had a last minute change with life, as we all know. So that are our panelists, and I'm going to go ahead and we are going to go ahead and start off the panel. I'll just go ahead and have you guys restate your name, your current position, and tell us a little bit more about your role in the organization that you work for. So we'll go ahead, Jenn, we'll go ahead and start with you because you were the first one listed in my slide deck. So we'll go ahead and start with you just telling us a little bit more about who you are, what you do.
Hi, I'm Jenn Lee. I'm actually in Atlanta, Georgia now, so it's nice and warm here, which is weird for winter times. Don't hate me, please. But I'm a colorist for film and TV, and I do and I work at ECG Productions. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Sophia, want to tell us a little bit more about what you do, who you work for? I'm thinking most people know Converse, but if not.
Yes. First off, what's up, Oswego? I am so excited to be with you guys today because I honestly had such an amazing experience at SUNY Oswego, and I miss it. And I hope that you guys are really enjoying your time there because it's short, but it's amazing. Like Christine had mentioned, my name's Sophia Alaqua. I am the Innovation and Design Studio Operations Manager at Converse, and you guys, like she mentioned, have probably seen these once or twice and have a pretty good idea of what we do. But our roots as a brand actually at Converse are really focused on being the canvas for self-expression and youth progress. So part of our MVP there is believing in the collective power of those independent enough not to follow. They'll be the ones to move the world forward. So that's another reason why I'm so grateful to be on this panel with all of you today, because you guys will be the ones moving the world forward.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sophia. And Kayla, we'll go ahead and let you end with introducing yourself.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. So I am a current student at SUNY Oswego. I'm a junior. I have a double major in public relations and business administration. As a student, I also hold a couple other positions. I'm the president of the Public Relations Student Society of America on campus. I am a computer lab assistant for CTS, and I just took up a part-time content coordinator role with a marketing communications agency, Tipping Point Communications. So those are just a couple of things that I'm doing this semester.
On top of classes, just a couple things. So lucky to have all of you three here with us today. So I think we'll go ahead and start off with what I'm thinking is probably the one question that students really want to hear about. Can you share more with us about your career path and how you created your own future, how you created your own kind of career future, and a little bit more about what that process looked like for you? And Jen, we'll go ahead and start with you again.
Oh, joy. So I actually had a kind of a weird trip to where I am now. I started at Oswego for zoology as a zoo major, and then I swapped over to broadcast and thought I really wanted to do like nature documentaries, and that eventually led me to getting a job after school, and I was working with the National Guard, and I was doing their training videos. So the thing is that like that wasn't very fun at all, and I hated it. And but the one tiny little piece of it that I liked was like getting to tweak the color of all the footage. And so like once I kind of found that I really liked that small piece, I just became an absolute sponge, and I just like figured out everything I possibly could about that small thing. And then I moved to Georgia trying to find other work, and basically offered up the fact that like I have skills as an editor, because that's what I'd done most in Oswego, and that's what I'd done in my position at the National Guard. But I also kind of told them a little bit about like how I'd also been studying color on the side in like my spare time, and it was one thing that I really wanted to grow in. And I think stating what I wanted to grow into helped them figure out a better place for me when I got there. And so I was never looked at as like an editor that was going to be an editor forever. I was looked at as like an editor who probably was going to become something different. And that was really, really helpful. And just like pushing through that was what got me where I am now.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen. So you had said, got one follow-up question for you. You had said that you were kind of studying colorists on that side. What exactly did you do to kind of study that? Were there independent projects? Were you taking courses? What did that look like for you?
So as far as like studying on the side, like there's a bunch of, so this is really nerdy. I really like reading textbooks. I just straight up like reading textbooks. And so like I would pick up a couple of texts on like, this is what color is. And I feel like that's a solid thing to do for any subject. I think that's a transferable thing. Because there just weren't, there were no degrees in color. Like you couldn't go to like film school and get a degree for color. Like, I mean, you could go to RIT and get a degree in color science, but that's different, and that wouldn't get you to where I am either. So like, it was just such a strange niche little thing. And the only way I was really able to move forward with it was through textbooks.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Sophie, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you if you want to tell us a little bit more about kind of where your career path led you and how you created your career, your future.
Sure. So my journey to Converse really started, after graduating college. I'd spent roughly a year and a half to 2 years backpacking Europe, Australia, New Zealand. I had very little money. So this experience became very interesting very quickly. But there were a lot of learning opportunities, language barriers, trying to find work. It was the first time I was really on my own and realized that I had to be super adaptable and just figure it out. That's kind of around the time I coined this mentality that I called the Chuck's life. And it became this lens of, I would say, like perseverance, self-discovery. I needed to be inspired to keep going because after eating, like, I don't know, months of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you're just kind of like, what am I even doing with my life? But it was interesting because when I returned home, my family and friends were like, what are you doing with your life? You can't be a vagabond forever. My dad wanted me to get an MBA, especially having done well in college. He's like, you're throwing all of this away. You need to do this, this, and this, like, or you'll never make it. And I kept telling them, no, 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 I'm going to work for Converse someday. And everyone's like, yeah, okay. Like, you're from upstate New York, I'm from Utica, New York. How are you ever going to make it to Converse? I was like, I'm telling you, I'm gonna do it. And I was self-employed for a little bit. I was working freelance projects. I was in and out of New York City. I just knew that I needed to meet the right people and build this skill set to eventually someday get there. I just didn't know how long it would take. It was just like someday goals. And around the time I was working in New York City doing freelance projects, I had created this video of my Converse because when I was abroad, I was like, wow, I'm feeling so inspired, that you can kind of live outside of this comfort zone and do more than just exist. And I wanted to make this inspirational video. And to give you guys an idea of what that was, I would actually love if we could show that quick.
Absolutely, we can do that. All right. I will try and not have this be too loud. I'll let you all adjust it if it's too loud.
Life is a journey, and the moments that make up our lives start with one single step. The Chuck's life isn't a pair of beat-up shoes. It's the failures, the risks, the success, the memories, and the mindset that keeps pushing you forward when you think you have nothing left to give. The only limits you have are the ones you place on yourself. And you'll never know how far you can go until you live like the limit does not exist. You see, anything in life worth doing takes time and effort, and the dreams we pursue are more than just goals. If you spend your whole life waiting for the right day, the right moment, or the right time, you'll be waiting forever. It's not about the things you own, but the experiences you've shared and the people you've met along the way. The Chuck's life is for the dreamers, the doers, the people who are told they can't and show the world that they can. The Chuck's life begins where the comfort zone ends, and then it's not about where you've been, but where you're going and the impact that you've left behind.
Woo!
Yeah. So, well, it's funny because this video, when it was created, it was really kind of to sum up the travel experience and, hope to inspire other people to live this Chuck's life mentality. But I'd actually used that video to slide into the Instagram DMs of the VP of Innovation, actually at that time at Converse, and had asked, like, I love your company. I would love to understand how you got here, what your career path was. I want to do an informational interview. And now we work together every day. So that's pretty much how I got here.
So amazing. Thank you so much. For students and attendees on the line, if you haven't heard of what an informational interview is, definitely check the chat out for more information. Sophia had mentioned she knew she needed to meet the right people, and from there things would continue. So networking and informational interviews are super important. We're going to throw some more information in the chat, and we're going to turn it over to Kayla to tell us a little bit more about how she is currently creating her future and how she's currently creating her career as a current student.
Thank you, Sophia. I love that video. That was so inspiring. And I kind of have a travel bug too. So that was awesome. Thank you for showing that and making it. So yeah, as a current student, obviously I haven't left college yet, so I haven't really gone through the ropes of will my major actually apply to what I'm going to do after college. But going into Oswego, I had picked PR as a major and I had absolutely no idea what it meant. So I took my first PR course, the survey one, and I learned a little bit more about it. But then I joined PRSSA and we went to PRSACNY events. So we met like the alumni, I guess, of PRSSA, and we did a New York City agency tour. So we went to New York City and we met alumni and went to different agencies, met a guy from Google. So that helped me way better understand what public relations is, what people in PR do. And yeah, so college has just helped me kind of figure out and narrow down exactly what I want to do, as well as internships. I had a full-time internship last semester with Tipping Point, who I now work for part-time. And working in an agency just gave me, the experience. I wanted to know, like, where could I go with PR? And one of them is agency, and you could also go in-house, you could go freelance. But I just loved agency and I love Tipping Point's clients, and I love the culture. So I'm glad that I kind of had the internship experience to figure that out.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Very inspiring stories as to how you got to where you are. And probably no surprise to our attendees, that's probably just the start. You're all very driven people that have got this far, and who knows what the next step for you may be in your career. So fun to kind of possibly connect with these folks on LinkedIn and continue to see where their career goes over the future. So Kayla kind of brought this up a little bit, but next question, what were your original goals and plans for your career while you were in college? Jenn, we'll go ahead and have you start off. Oh,
sorry. I did kind of touch on this a little bit earlier. And so basically, I had thought that I was going to be like, I thought that I was going to get to marry like the two things that I love the most, which was like the environment and environmentalism and film, and I was gonna make documentaries. It was gonna be great. I was gonna I was going to I wanted to work with dream goals would be like David Attenborough level stuff, right? Like Planet Earth, etc., etc. No, but in reality, I really don't think that you always end up exactly where you think you will. And so in my case, I just sort of ended up finding something else that I was just so very into. And so I just sort of fell into that instead.
Awesome. Thank you. Sophia, do you want to kind of talk about what you were thinking prior to all that backpacking and all of those travels, what you were thinking you were going to do?
Yeah, so it's funny for me, even my time in Oswego, I had no idea what I wanted to do, to be honest. Like when I had started at college, I went in undecided because I was interested in everything. I was like, I could see myself doing this. I could see myself doing this. Like, I don't even know how people filter this down. That was always my thought during college. And then I spent a pretty decent amount of time. I think it was in the gen ed classes where you have to go through, your personality tests and all of this different stuff. And shout out to Gary Morris, who I remember helping me through a lot of resume things. Because I truly was there, like, I know I have value that I can give to people in companies, and I know I can do something cool or something that I like, but how do I have that reciprocate? And it was really difficult picking that, I think, through what I guess Jenn was even talking about, like you just kind of land in a place eventually, like you just land, it just kind of works out. And back in college, I was like, I don't even know how you get that to work out the way you want it to. I remember wanting to be a sports med doctor, HR manager. Like I said, wanted to do it all. But what I really liked, Kayla, that you mentioned is the internship piece, because I found that to be probably the most tangible way to start to filter these bigger ideas down. Because once you actually get your hands dirty in a couple different industries, you're like, wow, I thought that would be so cool. It is, but it's not for me. So I think that was probably the most tactile way to get through that. And I also think it's a journey and not a destination, because I still find myself now like looking from like a career and goal planning perspective, those things change like consistently over time, and being able to grow, I think, is really important.
Yes, thank you also, Sophia, for the shout out about personality assessments and career assessments. Any attendees, if you're interested in taking a personality assessment or a career assessment, interpreting results with a career coach, such as our famous Gary Morris, our director, you can definitely do that. I'll have my co-host throw some information in the chat about the career assessments that we offer. Kayla, I would like to go ahead and give you a chance to answer this question. Given that you are still a current student, you're still thinking about this in a way. If you want to, you can share with us a little bit about maybe what your career goals are, the things you've learned from the experiences that you've had, and how you think that's going to play a part in kind of creating or designing your future after college when you do graduate.
Yeah, so I loved also what Sophia said about the personality assessments, because week 1 of Imagine 2021, we did the Myers-Briggs assessment, we did Strengths Quest, I participated in those, and those were really helpful. Kind of figuring out where my strengths were like as a leader of PRSSA, but also just generally what environments I work best in. So yeah, I would say what helps me really right now for after graduation is the internships, and networking is huge. That's what I love so much about PRSSA, is it is an endless network. Once you're a PRSSA member, you not only have access to all the other PRSSA members, but you have access to all the PRSA members, which are people in your field that you can reach out to, and you can email and just have like that informational interview with. So that's something I'm kind of going through right now to narrow down a little bit more where I want to be, what kind of agency, what size, what kind of clients, and all that. Yeah, and again, just the internships. But I would say the best part of being in college is the opportunity to experience and learn from really anything you want to do. So something that I did was I also studied abroad, and I did have an internship while I was abroad as well. And now the internship doesn't really apply to my major, but working in a different culture is totally different than just kind of studying in a different culture. So learning that I want to travel, and learning that even after college, I definitely want to travel. Maybe I'll land myself in an agency with international clients and I can go visit them and stuff like that. But I would just say take advantage of your entire network. So Gary Morris has been huge lately, helping me go through the internship process and really quantifying my goals. And any organization you're a part of as a student, if you're not, get involved. There's so many organizations on campus that you can get involved in. Everyone at the school and alumni, they're always really willing to help you, even if it's just like a quick chat, learning how they got to where they are today, like tonight. So that's really where I'm at, just still kind of figuring it out, but taking advantage of all the resources that I have available.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great shout outs right there to a couple different people and organizations. You guys are killing it. Kayla mentioned some clubs and organizations. If you are interested in checking out Laker Life and joining a club or organization, it's important to, be involved and engaged as a member, but there's also a lot of leadership opportunities too if you want to be an exec board member or an officer within the club or organization. There's ones that are more related to your hobbies. There's ones that are more related to your career. We have tons of clubs and organizations that you can definitely check out. So Kayla kind of touched a little bit on her time at Oswego, which is still current, and how that is going to help her in the future create her path. Jenn and Sophia, can you talk a little bit about your time at Oswego and what were the big things that really helped you to get to where you are today?
So as far as like big things at Oswego that helped me get where I am, mostly I think it was just like the professors that sort of did a lot of I don't know, as far as broadcasting goes, like Jane Winslow, I think she's no longer with Oswego, but she was like instrumental in sort of mentoring me in a way that was like invaluable. Being a TA was super helpful. It helped me with more time management and any other like I don't know. It also helped my love of textbooks. So I think that those things were really really great and important as far as my time at Oswego.
Awesome. You really love textbooks. Is that what you get for Christmas? Is that what you get for
I did get a textbook for Christmas.
Yes. Hey, lifelong learning. I'm a huge fan of lifelong learning. I'm tending to be a little bit more technology than books, but it's always important. All right, Sophia, do you want to kind of chime into your time at Oswego and really kind of what helped lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, Oswego was so fantastic. Honestly, I mean, people have said it, right? The resources and taking advantage of all of them. I don't know how to stress that enough. I don't think I truly realized, which is funny because and ironic, everyone in our Oswego community was saying, get involved, try this, try that. And you take it for granted, I think, or at least I did to some, respect, thinking I had all of this time in college and that these resources continue on past my time at Oswego and I'll always have access to these things, which in some aspects, yes, you are always connected back to the community, but the opportunities that you have literally right now to explore whatever it is you want in a safe space with valuable feedback, whether it's on your resume or how to write a cover letter or how to present yourself to XYZ, persons, interviews, meetings, whatever. You have so much at your fingertips, and taking advantage of that is the biggest unlock, alongside what Jenn mentioned with professors. I'd spent a lot of time in office hours learning about their careers, what they were doing. I remember my, senior level capstone courses. Some of those professors have made massive impacts on my life now and getting me to where I am now. By helping me network with people even in their extended networks outside of college. So resources for sure.
Awesome. For the students and the attendees on the line, just know that everyone across campus, we have a very blessed Oswego family community. Everyone across campus is pulling for your success. And I think Sophia kind of mentioned it, your time at college is going to go quick. So set a goal for yourself for this semester if you're not involved, or you have a specific goal thinking about your career, maybe set a goal for the semester and reach out to those people that, might make the most, mean the most to you, whether those are faculty or other campus partners. I'm so sorry. I have a puppy. She obviously is bell training. I'm so sorry. Apologies about that. We'll go ahead and continue to move on. Next question is, what skills and abilities do you feel are necessary for one to design their own future, whether it's hobbies, career path? What skills and abilities do you think are necessary? And we'll go ahead and start with Jenn.
I think so. I think it's really, really important. I also do a fair amount of bullet journaling, getting into all of my weird, nerdy hobbies. I think it's always really important to have like a clear set of goals for your next 5 years, and then like the ability to break that down into the next year, into the next like week, and just like make them manageable so that every day you're doing something small that will eventually add up into like the overall success of your career. I think it's really important to not get completely overwhelmed by like, oh my God, I have this like really big aspiration and like but I don't exactly know how to like fulfill that, and like just taking the time to like really think about it and write down how you like what you want, how you can like manageably get to that point. And then anything like the other thing is, this has really been important to me in the last year, is it's like writing down like the just thinking about like why, like what could stop you from doing that and how you're going to overcome those obstacles when they appear. And I think that that's like really great advice. If you want to learn more about the WHAM method, that's basically exactly what that is. And like there's a whole podcast about it on like Hidden Brain, and there's a book about everything to do with that as well. I think those are things that are really helped me a lot as far as like growing my career.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Sophia, does skills and abilities you think are necessary for folks to design their own futures?
Yeah, so I think the big piece of that question for me is probably the design your own future piece specifically, which I see being two things, which for me would be adaptability and a good attitude. I don't think designing your future is easy, but it's one of those things that would be, I would call it like a choose your hard. It's hard to have a career that you don't like. You know, that's hard. And it's also really hard to build this career or future that you love. So you have to really choose which one you want to put time and effort into. And I think that the adaptability and good attitude piece are the biggest, let's say, foundational things that will help you level up. The adaptability, taking opportunities that maybe you wouldn't, you know, but you maybe want to, but you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. How adaptable can you be in that situation? Can you get your feet wet in that? Can you try something new? When you're put in a really tough situation, how are you going to, you know, pave out that path to success, regardless of how difficult that task or goal is? And the good attitude piece, you truly need to get there. Jenn, I loved the bite-sized mini goal piece and like breaking that down. I think something that's also been key for me is a vision board in this space, being able to visualize what that goal looks like. I find inspiring to get there.
Awesome. Thank you. Kayla, anything to add?
Yeah, as a student, I appreciate both of you sharing your insight because I'm like mentally taking notes, like, okay, I'm going to implement this. Definitely quantifying my goals and what I want really helped. Gary's helped me a lot. Spreadsheets, I love spreadsheets. I need organization. And also, yeah, the adaptability. A lot of what I've had the opportunity to do in the past 2.5 years at Oswego has kind of just most of them have just fallen into my lap. It's not necessarily something that I really planned for myself, but it came up and I said, yeah, I mean, I took the risk. I wanted to learn more about it. But I would just say, as a student, persistence and believing in yourself. So knowing that whatever you want to do and wherever you want to get, you really can get there. I've had trouble, you know, not comparing myself to other students that have done a lot more than me. Everyone has a different path, and somehow some of us end up in the same place. So just believe in yourself and really persistence, like just keep going towards what you want. You know, don't give up. There's gonna be roadblocks, big ones, and what you want can change. I think even only being in college for 2.5 years, what I really want has changed a lot. So just going with the flow. Yeah, I agree with what they said, and I really appreciate them bringing that up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love the believing in yourself piece because I really do think that that has a major kind of effect on when you're looking at your career or your life or your future and wanting to kind of create it or design it. I think it's really important. In thinking about adaptability, if someone's to ask you a question about adaptability in the future and you're really, you know, kind of lost at what you should say, think about the times that we find ourselves in. Think about how you adapted your learning style or how you adapted, you know, your career development process, or really anything that you've done in almost the last year and how you've had to adapt to that given a global pandemic that we find ourselves in. I think adaptability is key, and I'm glad that you kind of all mentioned that because it is super important, and it's definitely something that won't stop after you leave college. You'll continue to adapt, whether that's to the world around you in the world of work or yourself, such as your interest or your goals changing, kind of as Kayla had stated. So that's awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and keep moving on. If there's any attendees or participants that want to throw questions in the Q&A, feel free to throw questions in the Q&A. We'll go ahead and kind of get to those in a little bit, but go ahead and start thinking and brainstorming about those questions and throw them in there. All right, what is one thing you wish you hadn't done or maybe had done differently that may have created extra challenges for you in kind of creating your career and kind of creating your future?
So I think that the hardest thing for me when I left Oswego is that I just loved Oswego so much. I wanted to stay there. And the town of Oswego is a wonderful place to visit. And it's a great place to like live for a little bit, but like don't get sucked into staying in a place just because you like it. Like I think that I would have been able to start things a little bit faster had I left upstate New York sooner. But then again, like it's one of those things that like sometimes chance just happens and that's the way it is. And maybe I wouldn't be where I am now because I didn't get here at the same time. But I would say don't be precious with your location during your job search. It's okay to move away from home. It's okay to move away from like your college and your friends and stuff, and you will stay friends still. Like I still talk to people from Oswego. I still have friends there. Like we didn't lose touch because like we lost the same area code. It's fine.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen. Definitely something that we see with searching for jobs and internships. We encourage students to, kind of keep an open mindset. It doesn't have to be a move that lasts forever. It can be a trial. It can be a pilot where you move there and you give it a year. And if you hate it, then you can move somewhere else or you can move home. But being open to opportunities is definitely going to allow you to have a lot more opportunities than kind of limiting yourself in your internship search or your job search or whatever your path may look like in the future. All right, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Sophia.
Yeah, so I don't know if I would do anything differently per se, but I think I would have challenged myself to actually think differently. I remember there were a lot of times feeling like I wasn't good enough or I was comparing myself, which Kayla, you'd mentioned, and I was like, wow, I can so feel this when you're comparing yourself to other people, either that you're friends with or that are in your greater community, like what are they doing, etc. And it's interesting because I guess a good example, when I was first hired at Converse, I was interviewing against people with 10 years of experience in project management, footwear, this whole thing. And I'm coming in with no experience in footwear and truly no, solid operational background. I had quite a bit of unique experiences. But what I had most was passion about the brand. And that's actually how I got in and why they'd hired me. But I had spent the good first year of being there feeling this imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong here. I'm not smart enough to be here. I don't know if I'm doing the right things. I had a lot of issues trusting my own intuition. And I'd spent countless nights on Reddit, YouTube, LinkedIn, any type of resource I could get my hands on. I was like, I need you to teach me everything about footwear and operations, and I need to know it all tomorrow. So it was just like this crazy time. And I'm really grateful because I think that is what pushed me to grow professionally and outside of my comfort zone. But looking back, had I just actually trusted the process, my own intuition, and known that, these things take time and you're here for a reason, and you are bringing value whether you realize it or not, I think it could have been a much easier process for me as a whole. But that would be my one thing.
Awesome. Trust the process. It's a good note to take. Kayla, I know this might be hard for you to answer, but would you like the opportunity to answer this one?
Yeah, thanks. I'll just add something really quick. I really like what Sophia said. about the imposter syndrome. Obviously, I'm still a student, and there's nothing that I would take back, nothing that I wouldn't have done. Everything has given me some sort of experience, some sort of knowledge, either about myself or, where I want to be, what I want to do. But just going through the process of finding an internship, I was like, I don't compare to the people I'm going up against, because on LinkedIn you can see, who else is applying for this job, or even on Indeed. And just really believing in your own uniqueness and your own experiences. Like Sophia said, like, you don't necessarily have to be lined up for that position. You don't have to have all the years of experience. You just have to really want it for yourself, and you have to believe that you have experiences where you have learned things and you can apply them to this position or this company. Just knowing that you do add value. I wouldn't do anything different, but I do have to remind myself of that going through this internship process, that like I do add some value, just even if I'm not a senior yet or a graduate.
Thank you. That was great words of wisdom. And I will say, students, if you need help figuring out what your value add is going to be, or expressing your interest and your passion in your application documents, come see us. We can help you and weave that into your resume and your cover letter. If you're, lacking, you think the internship experience, come see us. Maybe we can talk about course projects and other experiences that will help you to get that interview, so you can talk more about your passion and why that is, a quality that they should seek. We did have a question come through the chat. If anyone else has questions, feel free to send them in. Tyler asks, would you say that spending a little time after school or studying abroad during school would open your mind more to further deepen the drive for your passion? Whoever wants to take this one, I'll let them go ahead.
I can speak to this a little bit. I did also study abroad and spent time after college backpacking. I think they're both two very different experiences. With studying abroad, you are still kind of in that community atmosphere where you have a lot of things in common with the people you're there with. So you're outside of your comfort zone, experiencing things that you never would have, staying on campus back in Oswego, but you are still in kind of this safe space, which is really great. Going, I would say, abroad after school, you do have, your world opens and that aperture opens a bit more, and it becomes much more ambiguous, where you're either going to new places, you're meeting new people, but it's much more on your terms. And being able to, I would say, like, identify what you're looking to get out of each of those experiences would help you make that decision for what's best for you in that space. I don't know, Kayla, you also studied abroad, so.
Yeah, I would say I always knew that I wanted to study abroad in college. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know when I was going to do it. And then I just kind of decided one semester, I'm going to go to Ireland actually next semester. And I obviously have not been abroad like Sophia has on her own after college. And when you study abroad, it's absolutely like a little bit of a safe space, and you have all the resources to literally keep you safe where you are in another country. But I would say it definitely opened my mind, because I'd never really lived in another culture before. I'd never worked in another culture or studied. So I don't know how much it had to do with really like my my future, like my goals, but it widened my passion for traveling, because once you're in Europe, Sophia can probably talk about this too, you can go anywhere. And so just being able to travel just showed me like, okay, I can do it. It's possible. And I want to do it. I want to learn more about other cultures.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As someone who as another one who has also studied abroad, of quite a number of times, both in undergrad and grad school. I think one of the things that I'd like to add to is that it gives you the opportunity to learn more about yourself in a different way because of the situations that you're just naturally put in a different country. So you almost always gain a better self-awareness about who you are. And I think with that comes a little bit more of direction with interests and passion, as well as I think studying abroad versus taking time after school. I took like a gap semester in between undergrad and grad school where I was just working and kind of like Sophia was just traveling around. I think it gives you time to intentionally think about who you are, what problem you want to solve in the world, and starting to make a plan for that. I think while doing that while you're taking courses can be hard sometimes. So I think that's another kind of big difference of traveling after you're done kind of with schooling or on a break versus studying abroad in a structured way. Either way, I think it's important to make that time, whether you're going abroad or whether you're doing it in the US. I think it's really important to take time to intentionally think about who you are, what problem you want to solve in the world, and then make goals to get there, because that's really what life is about. And that's really how it is to, you know, further learn a little bit more about the world of work and the career paths that exist out there. To kind of go off that question, are there other specific experiences or other action items that you guys would suggest students kind of take advantage of during their time now as a student, if they are kind of interested in creating their career or kind of just designing a future that best aligns with their interests and their goals? Anyone can snag this one.
I didn't actually like study abroad, but there was like this really great trip that I took with the Japanese the Japanese language course. It's like a 2-week class instead of a whole study abroad thing, and like that was just so it was such a needed break from America that like I would definitely suggest, even if you don't have the time or the like if you don't feel like you can actually study abroad for a whole semester, like I think that those short classes are super valuable.
Awesome, thanks. Sophia or Kayla, anything to add? Any experiences students could take advantage of, action steps that they can kind of focus on to assist them in the future?
So many good resources to utilize. I feel like there's a bit, part of it is, I would say, the executional things, the things that we've been talking about today, like whether it's goals and how you organize those, the resources you have available at Oswego, and the executional piece of just going for all of that. I think there's also, you know, while you're going through school and kind of trying to figure out what it is that you're passionate about or what it is that you want to do or how you define success, that inner work piece I think is also really important to take the time while you're in college and you have the time to explore that a bit more, because a lot of times, especially as you're going through, people will have opinions as to what they think you should do with your life, and these people probably care so deeply about you that they want to see you become successful and they want the best for you. What they think is success for you might not be what you think is success for yourself. So taking the time to do inner work and identify those things, even if it's just brainstorming, like I'd mentioned vision boards earlier, figure out what motivates you and do that with the intention of knowing like these things are not going to be easy and you are not going to always love everything that gets balled up into this find your passion, pursue your career, success, bigger picture of life, because it's so multifaceted, that balance is really important, and understanding why for you personally will be integral going through kind of the ringer of reality later.
And coming back to that adaptability piece too, keeping that in mind, because there's no one experience or no one action item that you can take to prepare yourself. Learning more about yourself and motivation, your motivations, I think is a great point. Kayla, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I would say just as a student, you know, what is your dream position and what draws you to it? So just writing down, like, what do you want to do? Is it the people that they work with? Is it the work they do? Is it the company? And then talking to the people where you want to be. So, I always thought there was some barrier, like I can't talk to people that are in the real world yet. But, go on LinkedIn, go through the alumni, and find someone where you want to be and talk to them. How did you get there? What are your passions? What experiences did you have? And not only are you going to learn more about how to get there, but maybe they have a connection. Maybe they know of an internship. Maybe they know of a position open in their company, and boom. And another thing that I have to remind myself of is a small step in the right direction is still a step in the right direction. You don't have to have it all figured out right now, but just doing something small, it's more progress than doing nothing at all. So I kind of remind myself of that when I get down. I'm like, this is kind of big.
Kayla, I love that point. And if I could tell every college student that I work with that you do not have to have life figured out when you graduate, just because you deem 22 and you get a diploma does not mean that you have to have life figured out. The important part is that you know yourself, your interests, your passions, and you have the tools and the people to help manage your career long term. Because as Sophia's mentioned, as everyone mentions, your values might change over time, your interests might change over time, and it's important to be able to take that small step, or maybe you want to take a big leap, to take that step into what might be next for you. I'm always interested in sharing facts with the students that I work with about occupations that will exist in 2030 that don't exist now. Garbage engineers, artificial intelligence lawyers. I always love to throw around occupation titles that don't exist now, that you can't prepare for now, that you really can't interview an alumni because they don't exist, but making sure that you're identifying what your interests are, taking a step in the right direction, and being open-mindedness and being adaptable, I think are definitely some themes that we're seeing throughout tonight. So making sure that you're keeping that in mind. And if you still don't have an idea and you want to talk with someone about it, if you want to explore careers, you want to learn a little bit more about different occupations, you want to see where alumni are going, with the degree that you're in, come see us. All of our career coaches can be extremely helpful in that manner. We can, introduce you to industries, introduce you to, different occupations, and talk with you about some of the data and the information around those to possibly help you at least start to kind of create an area or to create a path that you're interested in. All right, so last question. What general tips and recommendations do you have to share with our students and our class of 2020 alumni on the call today of how they can create their future, whether it's career or something else, and define success for themselves?
Oh, this is a big question.
No pressure here, just any words of wisdom may come to mind.
I would say, like, honestly, like, enjoy the last bit of your time at Oswego. Enjoy it, and, like, if you're like, if there is something that you really love to do, just like make sure that you do it a whole bunch before you leave. Like, I don't know, I really liked going out and hanging out on the lake during like sunset. It was beautiful and super cliche, and I don't care. And it was great, and I miss that all the time now. And so like do some of that, and it will make you feel a lot better about moving on to your next like part of your journey.
I love it. Enjoy life. Enjoy the things that you love. Sophia, what do you want to add?
No, that's amazing. I don't know how I top that, Jen. No, truly, I think one thing is that there's no limit on what you can do after college. And people, I remember people saying that to me, like, "Oh, you can do anything you want." And I was always like, I don't know about, like, what do you mean I can do anything I want? But there's so much validity in that if you can visualize what it is that you want to get out of life, and you can put together your little goal setting plan to actually do it, the biggest piece is just actually going for it. And any limiting beliefs that you might have wrapped up in that, take a look, like a deep, hard look at those and be like, why do I think this? Because there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling, there's no cap across the board.
Love it. Thank you. And if you need help with that, come see us. One more shameless plug. Kayla, what do you have to add?
I would just say resources. I mean, as a student, I know other students that don't know about the resources that we have available to us. I've really, this past year and a half, have taken advantage of all the offices that we have on campus. So career services has been a big one. Just they can do anything, like resume prep, cover letter, the personality test, helping you find an internship, even defining like, is the major I'm in right for me? I don't know. So career services, the alumni office, I recently joined the ASK program and I have a mentor and she's awesome, gives me a little inside look into the PR industry. The internship office, obviously, I had an internship and I think that really helped me define what I want to do and where I want to go. And, you know, there's a million other resources. I found that the alumni, the staff, even, you know, the faculty are here for us. They're really here to help us, believe it or not. And so just, I'm glad that I found them and I hope that other students find those resources as well.
Thank you so much, Kayla. I think that's a great kind of summary of all of the wonderful, you know, caring people that we have at Oswego. There are a ton of different departments, your faculty, your professors, you know, alumni, everyone is, you know, rooting for your success. So I'd say find someone, ask them about the resources. You don't know what you don't know. So just ask them what resources are available to help me, you know, be successful after college. What resources are available to insert blank, whatever you're interested in. And if you want to email me, you can definitely email me. If there's someone else on campus that you already have a close relationship with and you look up to them, you definitely reach out to them and see what resources that you can take advantage of, because I think that's definitely a huge one. After college, there are some resources that still exist for you, but there's this nice learning, exploring, I think, mentality that comes with being a college student that allows you to have access to those resources. All right, so I'll go ahead and pause for just a second. If any of our panelists, if any of our participants have questions that they would like to ask the panelists, please feel free to throw them in the chat or the Q&A now, and I'll be able to kind of keep us going with questions. I'll go ahead and give us 30 seconds to a minute to see what questions we have coming in. Anyone have any questions? Questions for our amazing panelists? If you can't think of one, oh, Sophia, did you?
I was just gonna say, I just want to shout out Gary Morris. I see you in the chat.
Gary Morris is in the chat. For those of you that haven't met Gary Morris, you should be involved in career services more, then you'll know who Gary Morris is. He's our director. He's a pretty amazing guy, helping students out left and right with their careers. Just one of those amazing people that's part of that Oswego family and community that we're talking about. I've only been here less than a year, and I can honestly tell you it's probably one of the best parts of Oswego. So I can definitely attest to that. All right, do we have any questions? We can keep talking about crazy awesome people on campus, but any other questions? Awesome. Well, I just want to go ahead and thank you all so much for joining us today. It was really helpful to hear both from alumni that are, you know, rocking it in their careers and still designing their future and what that means for them, as well as current students that are taking advantage of resources and will hopefully be in your guys' shoes one day with their future and career. Your insight and your tips today were awesome, very inspirational. Someone just threw in the chat. Hopefully they'll be extremely helpful to students as they think about life after graduation, whether they know it or not. There's going to be some level of designing their career and designing their future. They may not be, you know, set out to, I'm going to design my career, but there's going to be some level of that no matter what they do, because with the job search, there's, you know, some parts of that, and you might think you really want to go be a biologist, and then you get in the lab, you know, 40, 50 hours a week, and you're like, yep, that's not going to work. So there's always parts to that. Tomorrow, we are going to have a session with guest speakers from Handshake, Career Shift, and LinkedIn. If you don't know what those are, you should definitely join us to learn what those are, but also to learn more about how you can utilize those tools to search for opportunities. So we've talked a lot about internships tonight and how you can gain credit for them and get paid. So nice little myth buster there that Tycho, one of our career coaches, had thrown in the chat. So join us tomorrow to learn about Handshake, Career Shift, and LinkedIn. And then later this week, we are doing a interning outside the box session with our very own Tina Cooper, who's our internship coordinator in the Excel office. She's going to talk to you about creating an internship if they're not ones that are available that you're looking for. So we definitely have a lot more, hopefully inspirational sessions to come this week, but I just want to personally thank you three for joining us tonight and sharing so much that you did with students. I think our students are extremely pleased and happy with all that you shared with them tonight. All right, and I don't see any questions coming in, so we hope to see you guys at another session. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you guys.